Pate choux. What is pate choux? It is the pastry that is the eclair, the cream puff, a wonderful magical treat. Gonna start with some butter, unsalted. We're gonna melt this in the pan. The sticks of butter are just about melted. So now it's time to add the salt. Then we're going to add the water. We're going to let this come to a boil and then add the high gluten flour. Don't freak out. What is bad for you is GMOs. We've been eating gluten is the protein structure that holds the binders together so that the gas can raise inside of, like bread flour has a higher gluten rating, has more gluten in it than does all-purpose. And then one below that would be pastry flour. Now you can take all-purpose flour and make it into pastry flour in a cheat by adding a little bit of cornstarch that cuts the gluten. But your body has, I'm sure there's some people out there that can't eat wheat, just like there's some people out there that can't eat eggs, orange juice, whatever. But by and large, people aren't having a problem with gluten. They're having a problem with the GMOs. Our body doesn't know what to do with it. So they've genetically altered this substances we've been eating for, I don't know, hundreds of thousands, millions of years. And it's funny that now all at once, after they genetically modified all this grain, now all at once we have all these intolerances. But it's been that way forever. Can't someone remember what it was like 40 years ago when we ate bread 3 times a day and we didn't have problems? Okay, it's come to a boil and we're going to add the flour. This is a very important step. We're trying to cook some of this starch. And it's going to form a ball. This will build some big forms when you're in a bakery or patisserie because you make this at about 8 times larger size than this. That's what you're going to end up with. Okay. It's where we want it. We're going to add it. We're going to take and place it in this mixing bowl. Going to place it on the mixer and slowly, on low speed, let this start to cool. And what we're helping to do is helping to get air in there, cool air, to help cool this. We're also building a little bit of gluten, which is what we want. If you know, inside of an Eclair or a cream puff shell, you got a shell with a massive amount of air inside, so it pops as it's baking. And so we're wanting that protein structure. What I use is a flour that is non-GMO, it is organic, unbleached, and unbrominated. At one time they used to brominate, well they still do, a lot of the flours. It's not what you want. Unbrominated, unbleached, all pure. If you have a problem with gluten and you didn't have it as a kid or you didn't have it 30 or 40 years ago, switch your flours, make your own breads, make your own pastries. You will be shocked at the results. It is not the gluten. Well, I won't say that's not, but probably 99.9% chance it's not the gluten that's your problem. It is the GMOs. These GMOs are not what our body was, what we've evolved into. Maybe in another 10,000 years they keep doing it. Maybe some people's bodies will evolve into eating it, but not right now. So we're gonna let this run. The indicator for this is to be able to place your hand. I have baker's hands, so some people's hands are much more tender, so you don't want to just slam it on there right now. You could get burnt. But when you can hold the bottom of this bowl and it's not painful, so you don't want to hold it on there right now until it's painful, you can burn yourself. But when it's warm, probably around 120, 110 degrees, somewhere in there, but not baby bottle temperature where you can put the milk on your wrist. Females know what I'm talking about. Then what we're going to do is slowly incorporate the egg. And that is going to make a wonderful pastry that we will pipe into different shapes. We're there. We're going to start adding the eggs one at a time. Let it incorporate. Let it kind of disappear for the most part. It's broken, it's disappearing. You don't want to take forever doing this, but if you dump them all in, it's not going to turn out. It's going to look like a gooey mess at this point, and that's okay. What we're going to do is stop the mixer, scrape the sides, then we're going to increase the speed. On a 1 to 10, I've got it on 4. And it's going to come together now. And right at the end, increase the speed. You're done. Do not overmix it at this point. Clean the paddle, and that's the consistency you want, because we're going to pipe this out of a pastry bag. You can see that's exactly the consistency we're looking for. You're going to want to use parchment paper. We get a little bit of air pocket in there. Oh, that's come out. Here's a professional baker's trick. There, there, there. Don't worry about this burning it. It'll come right off. What this does is holds the paper down so that when you're piping onto it, you don't get movement. Now, how's that for a cool, neat trick? We're going to start with some cream puffs. Give yourself a little bit of room to let these expand. Oh, we want that cap. Now we're going to do some eclairs, and I'm going to put those over here. Now, something that I came up with and was actually the motto or the tag for the bakery patisserie restaurant that I had. It was called Perfections. And we were home, of course it was at the beach, home of the chocolate clam. Now, if you watched the episode where we made German chocolate mousse, we would put that in there. Also, we would put some whipped cream, and it was a chocolate clam. So people coming to the beach thought it was really cool, and it's a great, wonderful, tasty dessert like this. Those will make chocolate clams. Preheated the oven to 400 degrees. We're gonna stick these in there. They're gonna go around 45 minutes, depending on your sea level, atmospheric conditions, the whole 9 yards. And these are going to puff up. And when they do, they're gonna do kind of like, go like that, create an air pocket inside with steam, and that's what makes one great pastry. The pate choux is ready to come out. One of the first things you're going to want to do, and we're going to reserve these caps, so we're going to take and poke a hole about where we're going to fill. You see that steam coming out? That is You want to get that out of there. So we're just making a little insertion. And on the eclairs, this may be too hot for you. Like I said, I've used to baking for many, many years, so the pastry is going to cool at a different temperature on the top than it is on the bottom because the pan's going to stay hotter than the top of the pastry. So you can take and place them up here. Be careful because this pan will burn you. But what's going to happen is you'll get condensation on the bottom of the pastry, and you do not want that. You can even make these ahead of time. Make them a day ahead, just like the custard and the mousse and the things that'll go inside. And you will have them ready to go. You wouldn't want to refrigerate them overnight. What you would do is let them cool and then dome some plastic wrap so that the air is not coming to them completely. Or if you could set them inside of something, you wouldn't want to stack them on top of each other like that. Let them cool. But this way the condensation won't happen underneath the pastry. That could ruin the pastry. Got some more coming out of the oven over here.